Wednesday, October 26, 2016, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. So I like to talk about the Federal Reserve and central banking in general and why it is important that we get rid of these institutions. And first of all, I'd like to talk about the dissolution or collapse of the Soviet Union, which happened in 1991. And the Soviet Union lasted for about 70 years or so. And I'm sure there were a lot of people who were kicking and screaming, who thought it was probably the end of the world in the Soviet Union. They couldn't see the Soviet Union being something different. There were entrenched powers and elites that probably fought tooth and nail for it. And I think we're at the same kind of juncture today in the West, United States, UK, and it's to do with central banking. Even though I think a lot of people, the majority of people out there, think that central banking is something that's natural and that's necessary to run the financial system and keep it safe, even though it hasn't. I mean, we've seen what's happened in the last, since 2007, 2008. Has central banking been any good? I don't think so. And it's still being really reckless and irresponsible. So, the interesting thing is that I'm comparing, the Soviet Union and central banking, but actually they have a lot of similarities because the Soviet Union was created out of the communist or Bolshevik revolution in 1917, and I've always found it interesting that Karl Marx' Communist Manifesto has 10 planks to seize power and destroy freedom. So I'll go through them right here from 1 to 10. Number 1 is abolition of property in land and application of all rents of lands to public purpose for the government. And number 2, a heavy progressive and graduated income tax. Number 3, abolition of all rights of inheritance. Wow, here in the UK, you have over a certain amount of money. I think it's about £325,000. If you die and you leave, let's say, £1 million, everything above 325 is taxed 40%. Number four, confiscation of the property of all immigrants and rebels. Number 5, which is very interesting and it's very relevant to this video. Number 5, centralization of credit in the hands of the state by means of a national bank with state capital and an exclusive monopoly. Wow, that's central banks. Some people might argue, but the government can issue money debt-free. No, government shouldn't be involved in the credit business. Anyway, number 6, centralization of the means of communication and transport in the hands of the state. Wow, that rhymes with what we got today. We've got very few, networks, mainstream media, 5 or 6 big corporations that control mainstream media and are in bed with the politicians. Wow, that sounds familiar. And also transportation in the hands of the state. All the state roads here in the UK, the railroads have been privatized, but they were nationalized years ago. And there's always talk here of renationalizing transportation. So number 7, extension of factories and instruments of production owned by the state. Number 8, equal liability of all to labor. Number 9, combination of agriculture with manufacturing industries. Number 10, which is very interesting as well, free education for all children in public schools. And I guess public schools here, they mean in the UK, they're called state schools because actually the public schools in the UK are the prep schools or private schools. So very interesting there. I mean, number five really jumps, comes out really, wow, we've got this, central banks. And that, in my opinion, is the most important plank of the Communist Manifesto because, you control the money and you have a monopoly, you can destroy individual freedom. So we've got now control of the credit market and banking in the hands of the Federal Reserve in the US, of the Bank of England in the UK. We've had it since 1694 in the UK. In the US, it's been 1914. We have the ECB in Europe, and everywhere else we've got this communist model. So when people say, oh, we need socialism and more and less capitalism, they're completely wrong. We don't have freedom and free markets. But who loves this kind of monopolistic, centralized system? I would argue it's the big corporations and the big banks. And you just have to go back to the founder of the Rockefeller Empire, John D. Rockefeller. One of his most famous quotes is, and I quote, "Competition is a sin." So we have his, I think it's his grandson, yes, David Rockefeller, who's over 100 years old, just turned 100 a few years ago. He's the head of all the big, maybe not the head, but he's been involved in all the big globalist institutions like the Club of 300, the Trilateral Commission, the Bilderberg Group, the Council for Foreign Relations. He's been part of that to bring in this globalist agenda where big corporations benefit because they can cope with all the regulations and they can pay off the politicians so that they can survive. And the small business, the mom and pop business, the small medium-sized businesses, they can't compete with all this global regulations. And then you end up with very little competition and big corporations controlling big, huge sectors of the economy. Another globalist who said something about competition was J.P. Morgan at the Peugeot hearings in Congress in 1912. And he actually said, "I like a little competition." So there you have it, So to all of those who think the solution is more government and more centralized power, you need to wake up and realize that that's what we've been getting for the last 100 years. And look where we're now, where not even 1%, but maybe 0.1 of 1% of the population controls almost everything. And my friends, that's getting very close to the Communist Manifesto, in my opinion. You have a few people on top controlling everything, and the sheeple, getting what they, not what they deserve. They're not like producing, but they're getting, what's the communist thing, they don't encourage individualism. So any wonder that the middle class in the US, UK, and Western Europe is dying? Because they don't want the bourgeoisie or the middle class or aspiration. They just want one ruling class and everyone below them like living in misery. So it's really important that we try to get rid of central banking and go back to free market money. I disagree with the people that think the government should go to printing interest-free money, so we don't have any debt as a nation or as a country. I don't agree with that either. That leads to abuse, and that's a monopoly. That's only the government being able to issue money. And Money is something that is not is a natural thing. It's something that's needed, and it's been created by humans through interaction and natural interaction in the market. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. We need to get rid of central banking. That's the scourge of the last 100 years. It's also meant that we've had huge destructive wars in the age of central banking, especially, look at the dates. The Fed was created in 1913, came into law, started operating in 1914, and look what happened that year. We had World War I break out. We've had so much misery and destruction because central banks, they suck in the credit of the nation through monopoly, and then the people on top can use that to their own devices. So as Amschel Meyer Rothschild said, give me control of the country's money and I care not who makes the laws. So maybe Trump is for real. He's going to drain that swamp in DC and is going to make government of, for, and by the people again. We'll have to see. So that's it for now. I'll update you later on the markets. It's, what time is it here? Just before 10 a.m. London, 5 a.m. New York time. So if you enjoyed this video, please like, share it, subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. And if you'd like to donate to my channel, there's some links below in the description. Take care. Bye.